I don't throw darts at a board. I bet on sure things. Read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Every battle is won before it's ever fought. Think about it.
Welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show. I am Kyle Anthony, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the betting show for UFC Fight Night between Jared Cannonier and Sean Strickland. We're going to go over two plays like we always do here, including the main event. And listen, this is the end of 2022 UFC events. Kind of crazy. We're already here. We're going to get that month off. I don't even know what I'm going to be doing for that month off. Probably really taking some time off traveling. I'm already planning a trip out to Florida for a week. So utilizing that time as I kind of prep up again for 2023. But if you look at what we did this year, it has been another profitable year this year. Really happy about the performance overall. Had some regression late in this year, but ended up being at over 50 units on the year, 51.23 units on the year for clients. Has been a fantastic year overall. And if you have been with me for 3 years and played all of my plays and all of my client play releases, you are up over 110 units over the last 3 years. So again, it has been, it's the thing about sports betting and betting UFC or betting any sport, I guess for that matter, is consistency, putting your money in strong positions, and always not being, I guess, overreactive to having a losing night, a losing day. At the end, we always, come out on top and make some profit. So I'm really happy about that overall, as well as partnering up with MSG now. Going to be doing more shows with them next year in 2023. So excited about it overall, and we crushed it on the MSG show. I think we hit every play that we pretty much gave out. So with that being said, if you want to become a client, link that in the description. Going to be doing some yearly promotions where, maybe taking off 10 or 15% or something like that coming up in the next week or two for the entire year package. So if you want to become a client for a year, that's the best way to really get value out of this. It's not about picking one weekend. It's really, again, long term, showing the success over long term and bringing back those profits. So with that being said, I think we're going to be diving into the main event of the evening between Jared Cannonier and Sean Strickland. So what we always do, we're talking about 3 fights for each fighter, see what we see if one fighter can expose the other fighter, and if the line makes sense to place a wager. So the first person we talk about here is Jared Cannonier. It's minus 105 on the comeback there. Sean Strickland is about minus 115. So the first person we're going to talk about 3 fights ago, Jared Cannonier fought Kelvin Gastelum. Now this was a very close fight here. This was a fight that was pretty close overall, but it was really the difference maker, was really the power of Cannonier really building up more of the damage, landing more of the damaging shots, being able to really counter off of those, finding opportunities. He dropped Kelvin Gastelum at one point in this fight, and Kelvin was really, trying to find a way to kind of get Cannonier out of rhythm, kind of, pushing a little bit forward, bouncing on the outside, being on his bike up against the fence, then coming right back in, throwing a nice combination. He's got great hand speed, he's got quick combinations, his footwork was good, but really overall in this fight, it was really Cannonier's damaging shots, landing, doing enough each round to go out there and get the victory. So he goes out there and gets a decision victory over Kelvin Gastelum. 2 fights ago, he fought Derek Brunson. Now, this was an interesting fight here because, Derek, kind of guy who had been looking really good overall, knocking guys out, getting good finishes. And right away, this was a spot where you knew that Brunson's going to be looking for level changes. He's not going to want to stand with Cannonier. He's not going to want to be dealing with the power. So he looked for those takedowns right away. And early on, he got a few. He got one, got the takedown. But you definitely saw how Cannonier can get up. He definitely has the strength to get up. He's not this high level, at least I would put him as this high level guy on the ground, but he has wrestling, he has strength, and he's been able to kind of get himself out of bad positions, utilizing some of that strength. Even when he was fighting, when Cannonier was fighting Hermanson. When he fought Hermanson, that was a spot again. Hermanson had a good spot on his back, and he was able to kind of pull his way and find opportunity to get space, get back to his feet. But in that first round, Derek was 2 for 9 on takedowns. He had to keep going to it, and it looked like going into that second round, really that was where he was getting tired. He was getting exhausted. He did not have much energy. He was looking to kind of keep going, keep landing, and then going into that second round, he ended up getting rocked with a big shot, wobbled Brunson, and then heavy ground and pound coming from Jared Cannonier. He goes out there, does get the finish in the second round by TKO. And then most recently, Cannonier fought Israel Adesanya. This one we don't have to go over too much here. Pretty much this was all Adesanya utilizing his range, keeping Cannonier, who was a little bit more slow plotting movement, not able to get inside, not able to cut distance, was allowing Adesanya to kind of work perfectly his range game, his distance management game. The leg kicks were working for him also. Cannonier was trying to throw a couple himself there too, but overall it was just too much. Adesanya was able to outland him over the 5 rounds, and so Adesanya gets the victory over Jared Cannonier. On the other side, we've got Sean Strickland. 3 fights ago, he fought Uriah Hall. This one was one here where it was complete domination. I mean, this was where Strickland was almost playing with his food, was able to land some good shots, keep that high pace, pushing forward. The pressure and the volume was just too much. And you had Hall, who wants to have the space, who wants to be able to utilize his high-level kickboxing, his range game also. He can be explosive at times when Hall wants to be explosive at times, but a lot of times he's not very... He just doesn't really do too much when it comes to activity, volume, and he was getting completely out-volumed round after round after round. It just was melting Hall overall. He did get to the decision victory, but Hall just seemed overwhelmed completely. So he goes out there, Sean Strickland, and does get a unanimous decision victory. I think it was 50-45 on every card over Uriah Hall. 2 fights ago, Sean Strickland fought Jack Hermanson. This was one here where it was the same game plan. It was really the same game plan for Strickland going into this fight. He was pushing forward, the heavy volume, the heavy pressure, and once Hermanson wasn't able to get these takedowns, wasn't able to get the fight where he wanted it to go, it was a standing bout. And that's really where it just shows that Strickland, as annoying as this guy can be, he's got cardio, he's got the volume, he kept doing that, really fighting very well behind his jab. I thought he was doing really nice, setting up a lot of his offense that way, and then continually walking down Jack. Jack wasn't able to get these level changes off of his back foot, again, allowing Strickland to kind of find success that way too, and then getting into the championship rounds, championship rounds, but the 4th and 5th round, it pretty much was a point where, like, Jack was getting sloppy, he just wasn't really crisp anymore, and you just had the volume and the pressure and enough where Strickland was winning on the scorecards. So he goes out there and he does get a victory over Jack Hermanson. And then most recently, he fought Alex Pereira. And this was one here, and I've posted about it on Twitter if you want to follow me at UFC, but I posted about it on Twitter talking about this fight. But I did have a sizable bet on Alex Pereira against Strickland in this fight here, and it was probably one of my more satisfying cashes of the year, watching him get knocked out. Again, I can't really stand Strickland overall, but Pereira got the job done. But this was a spot here where Strickland wanted to be standing, he wanted to be at range, he felt like that was a spot where, hey, I'm going to outstrike you, I'm going to outland you, I'm going to be able to put the volume on you and slow you down over time. And some people were kind of saying, hey, Strickland should have just shot for a takedown. I give that more credit to Pereira. The reason that the fight didn't get down there is really because he was worried about the big shots coming in. You have to cut distance and get inside that long rangey striking, the big power that Pereira has, and Strickland wasn't able to do that. He kind of looked to, walk him down a little bit, but it was Pereira. Pereira puts together a beautiful combination, sparks out Strickland, end of story, knocks him out in the first round. So there you have it there. So with that being said, I think the first thing here you just kind of talk about is the striking and the way these guys strike. And there's no doubt that Cannonier is going to be more of a guy that's going to bring the bigger power, looking for the bigger shots. He does set up some nice leg kicks pretty well when he's able to kind of mix those into his offensive attacks. And Strickland's more of the volume guy. He's going to be that forward pressure, the volume guy, the guy that's going to be able to really kind of push that pace, keep that volume going, and just totally smother you with a high volume of strikes. And I really think the biggest issue, with that part being said, the biggest issue I think for Jared is the fact he can be very low volume. And I think that is a massive issue for him in this fight, where you're fighting a guy who's gonna bring the pressure, who's gonna keep pushing forward, who's not gonna stop when it comes to just volume and output. Even if you hit him hard, he's still gonna be coming forward. And that's a spot where I think really it sets up very nicely for Strickland and the way that he does fight. That high pace, that high pressure pushing forward, the output's gonna be too much. I think that's really gonna suffer a lot for this part two here. And the part of it also, and I kind of touched on it just before too, was that, you know, guys who even just look for takedowns and are repetitively looking for takedowns, they have to be able to fuel that by cardio. They can't just have this great top game and not be able to keep pushing the pace. Strickland on that side too. If you want to be a volume guy, you got to be able to fuel it with cardio, and absolutely Strickland has that. Now I think Jared can tick down in certain spots. You know, he's a big dude and he can tick down in certain spots when it comes to cardio, it comes to output, it comes to footwork once the fight starts getting a little bit further, and that's kind of the game for Strickland. You know, Strickland is not a guy who's going to go out there and look for the finish of the first round. He's going to want to melt you. He's going to be death by accumulation. He's going to be pushing forward. He's going to keep the volume going, and I think that is really going to force Jared to find the one big shot. I mean, if Jared finds the one big shot, he can absolutely change this game, but I kind of lean to the fact that that's his path here. I don't really think he outlands Strickland over 5 rounds. I don't think he submits Strickland at any point here too. I really think it has to be a knockout victory for him, and I think that really minimizes the paths to victory for Strickland in this fight. And as we were just talking about paths, really the smothering pressure of Strickland is his path. So really the knockout for Cannonier is the way he could look at a victory, but I think that you can find multiple paths for Strickland, whether it's going to be the volume part we just talked about, the pressure, the pushing forward part. It could be where Cannonier seeks a takedown. He can get a submission, I think, on the scorecards. Strickland has some opportunities to go out there and get this victory. If you can kind of keep Jared on the back foot, pressuring forward, I think that's going to also help slow down some of this pressure and keep him moving, because early, I think the first round or two is where Jared's going to be scary. He's going to have a lot of strength, even inside the clinch. He's going to have a lot of strength, and that's also part of this too. We're talking about the grappling side of things. You know, the edge is going to be going to Strickland there, so the grappling part will definitely go to Strickland, but inside the clinch, as we're just talking about, you've seen Cannonier being able to rip the opponent's kind of arms away from him, get up, or just kind of leverage himself or out-muscle his opponent to get himself back to his feet. So that's part of it also there too, but I really think that Strickland can be freely moving forward because I don't think he's worried about any of the grappling. So I think he can freely move forward, not worry about these level changes. If it happens, I think he's comfortable there, even off of his back. Strickland can be very, very crafty off of his back and look for submissions, look for opportunities for reversals, get Jared on his back, get Jared working, slowing down his cardio. I think that's also part of it too. And then the last part here is Jared's no spring chicken here. I mean, Jared now is 38, gonna be 39 soon. You've got Strickland, who's 31, I believe, 31, and he's entering his prime again. He's an annoying guy, but boy, does he now. He's starting to hit his stride here again, coming off a loss. But I really think this does set up well for him. So for me here, I'm looking at Sean Strickland. I like Strickland. Minus 115, I think, is a pretty good price there. I think it's at a pick'em line, but I think just the multiple paths to victory for him is really going to be where he finds success here. He can really pick his poison in certain spots, and I think Jared is really held to landing the one big shot. Not saying that he can't, but I think it very much limits the percentage or chance of him going out there and getting his victory. So I do like Sean Strickland to go out there, out-volume him, outland him, and either find a late finish or win on the scorecards. But either way, I think Sean Strickland goes out there and gets this victory. So as my free play is Sean Strickland minus 115. And the last play I'm going to just quickly talk about here is Julian Erosa versus Alex Caceres. You got Erosa here, he's minus 160. You've got Caceres plus 130. And just to kind of go over this one here too, like I said, I'm just gonna kind of just knock this one out here. Caceres has pretty much been the gatekeeper type of guy, kind of fighting up some of these younger up and comers, fighting some of these guys that are looking to kind of crack into that next realm of talent. And Caceres is pretty good. You know, Caceres has got some good footwork. He's got good boxing. I think his hand speed is really good. He's able to really look good on those spots there too. And in spots, you know, his defense can be okay. He can be hittable at certain times, but he does have the good footwork that does help make him more evasive or less hittable when he's able to kind of be on his bike on the outside moving around. But as for Junior Rosa, I think the big knock on him overall is just he can be wild. He can be a guy that goes out there, he can be wild, he can start firing some crazy shots. He's not as calculated, he's got a guy that's just kind of, you know, not as measured. He's going to be a little bit more wild, but I really think that what he's done recently is really fine-tuning a lot of that. He's now 3-1 out of his last 4. I like the win over Charles Jourdain. I really, really like the win over Hakeem Dawodu. I think the win over Hakeem was pretty, showing that he's put it together and pretty impressive. Just the way that he was able to dominate the fight from beginning to end, utilizing all of his skill sets, going out there, controlling the positionally, outlanding, did a lot of great things. And Dawodu's a tough guy, and lanky, is versatile, has, you know, pretty well rounded when it comes all together. And I think that really showed Arosa getting to that next level, putting it all together, where you've got Caceres, who is Caceres. I mean, he's not going to bring anything new to the cage. He's not going to start bringing new wrinkles to the cage. What he does is what he does, and I don't think it's really going to throw anything off for Arosa. And on the other side of it, I think that the big difference maker is Arosa pushing the pace. I think his is another spot where Arosa can really push that pace, and I think that him also not being worried about the power coming back is really going to help Julian in this spot where he's looking to push forward. He's looking to kind of, you know, get his opponent up against the fence. I think that's where he's going to have a lot of success in this fight. I think he's going to get Caceres up against the fence multiple times in this fight, and that's where he's going to get that leverage to utilize his wrestling. He's got good wrestling credentials, get the fight to the ground, and even if he can't finish Caceres on the ground, I think he can control him there pretty much at any point that he wants. I think that, again, standing, Caceres could have some success. Again, with the hand speed, the boxing, some of those things may work for him, but that's where I think the bigger, stronger guy in Arosa is going to get these takedowns. He's going to get the control time. He's going to look for the level changes, and I think that's where he starts to land the more damaging shots, controlling even on the ground. I just don't think Caceres has enough arsenal to really kind of compete with Arosa. Again, if this stays standing and Arosa can't get him down, I think it changes a little bit, but I think the mixing in the threat of these takedowns starts to get Caceres a little more worried, backpedaling a lot, and I think that's where he starts to find some success. And I really think the only win here also, as we talked about main event, is Caceres by knockout is the only path for him. I don't think he out-volumes Arosa. I don't think he out-grapples him, finds a submission victory. I think Arosa is going to be better everywhere this fight goes, on the ground, up against the fence. Those are going to be the spots he's going to find success. So I think the wrestling of Arosa is going to be the difference maker. So for me here, as my other free play, I'm going to be taking Julian Arosa minus 160. So those are my free plays for UFC Fight Night this Saturday night. If you want to become a client, link down in the description. Excited for it. It has been a fantastic year. We have made money. We have, had a great time. I'll be honest too. It's been a great year overall. Meeting all these people. Whether we're meeting on Twitter, where we've met in person. I've met some people in Vegas, or I've met people in Atlantic City. It's been a great year. Looking forward to 2023. If you want more content or anything else over this next month, follow me at Kyle Anthony UFC. I probably won't be posting on YouTube until the event next year. So you want more content, check me out there. And this is Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show, and have a happy new year.